I'm so pleased and honored to have in the studio with me
Coaching me how to do radio.
Joe Madison, the Black Eagle on Sirius XM Urban View, weekdays 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sirius
Put the
XM
microphone
Channel
here,
110.
put the microphone there. Yeah.
And I'm like, here, Joe, move the microphone a little bit. You know how to use a damn microphone. JoeMadison.net, by the way, is the website. Hey, Joe, great to have you back with us.
Thank you.
So,
Poor Kevin.
our last caller.
Oh my God, man! Yeah. I went back to. I pulled up my iPhone. I said, because I interviewed this morning Dr. Richard Curran of the Smithsonian, who's written an extensive book on Columbus. And so we don't celebrate Columbus to celebrate the expansion of the Western world. Yeah. We celebrate Columbus primarily because Roosevelt wanted to make political points with Italian Americans during the 1930s.
Right.
You know, and I mean, in Columbus, I mean, he was a thug. I mean, Columbus, great navigator, but it brought disease. A poor governor, a poor a manager was arrested when he got to Spain. His family spent a fortune. Matter of fact, his name wasn't Columbus. That was an Englishization angle of his name. And brought disease. He died of venereal disease, by the way. Yeah. There was a whole thing on him. Now, again, it's not to say that he didn't navigate, but remember now, he was looking for India. Right. He understood, as a lot of people did in the world, many, that the world was probably round. What he didn't realize was that there was a big continent in the middle of it, and he was really trying to find a shorter route than what Marco Polo. This was about trade, and it wasn't about Western expansion. Yeah. And by the way, he got 10% of everything he was able to steal, rob, and he killed Indians, chopped off their arms if they didn't work. They fought back. They didn't have enough to mine the gold. I just hope Kevin's listening. So that, and in essence, what it did was really introduce the slave trade to the Western Hemisphere because they had to find more humans. And the Catholic Church, by the way, had a major debate in the 1500s as to whether or not these Indians who were here thousands of years before Columbus discovered them, our debate was whether they were humans or beasts of burden.
Whoa. And
that was a debate that the Catholic Church had.
Whoa.
And they came down on the side eventually that they were humans. Yeah. So, if we're going to study history, if we're going to talk history, tell it all. Yep. That's the only thing. And as far as being a libertarian, I'm thinking of this Ebola and the fact, and you played it earlier in your show. Yeah. They cut $1.5 billion, or they would have had probably a vaccine now for this Ebola. Yeah. Well, here's what a libertarian should be thinking. You would think that the pharmaceutical companies that are making a fortune, they're making a fortune. Why would they not come to the White House, to our so-called Marxist president, in air quotes? Why wouldn't they come to the White House and say, you know what, we'll do what Henry Ford did. We'll do what the aeronautical giants did during World War II. We'll make up the shortfall, and we'll check our egos at the door. Forget who gets credit, who gets the profit, and we'll come up with a vaccine, and we'll do it not just for the United States, but we'll do it for the world. Now, that I would think that's what a libertarian would want. Do you see any CEO being interviewed about this?
Well, this is what's so dysfunctional about this libertarian fantasy that the quote free market will solve everything. It's nonsense. The free market only makes profits.
Yeah, well,
and it's
as frightened as everybody is about Ebola, they certainly wouldn't have problems selling the vaccine.
Yeah,
for it, and they could easily again. If and people, will tell you because someone quoted you the other day on my show and said, Thom Hartmann, he wants to get, he's like me, he wants to get rid of these big agencies. I said, like what? And then I said, like what, the EPA? Yeah. I said, wait
Really?
a minute, really? And I almost woke you up. It was it was about 6:30 in the morning. And
That would have woken me up.
I said, I don't have to do that. I said, no, I think he wants fresh drinking water and, and clean air. And
Yeah, I'm all in favor of that stuff.
I think he's for that.
That's why we have a government.
Thank you.
Yeah. We're talking with Joe Madison. Joe Madison, the Black Eagle on Sirius XM Urban View, weekdays Monday 6 to 10 a.m., Sirius XM Channel 110, joemadison.net, the website. Joe, another day, another horrible video coming out of basically terrorism in the United States. It
is a violation of people's, quite honestly, and I see you have the Constitution here in front of us.
Yeah.
It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution for all practical purposes.
Right.
I interviewed today, there's a video that was making the rounds of a young couple in Sandusky, Ohio. When I was very young, my grandparents, we used to go up there fishing. Cedar Point is up that way. You're from Michigan, up in northern Ohio. Yeah. So here was a guy that the police pulled he and his girlfriend over with a 2-month-old in the back seat. She's on her way to the hospital to see. I think somebody was sick, or
wasn't her mother dying?
It's something like that. I think these cases are starting to run together now. Yeah. But they stop her for seatbelt violation.
Right.
She didn't have her seatbelt on. She was driving. Right. He had his seatbelt on. So then they decide to go around to the passenger side of the car and ask to see his ID. I think his name is Stockett, and he says, "I don't have to show you my ID. What did I do? I didn't do anything. I've got my seatbelt on. I want to see your ID." So then he decided to once again pull out, thank God, his iPhone, and he started to record it. Right. Well, they started screaming at him, telling him to get out the car. Ended up bringing a dog in to sniff for drugs. And here's what they found out afterwards, and they have it all on tape. One, the two officers involved had spoken to this man. Now, this is Sandusky, Ohio. So as his lawyers said, he's from Sandusky, Ohio. I know everybody's name, including the name of their cat and dog. That's how small the town is. Right, small town. And said the officers had spoken to him a half an hour before the stop. It's because he had come out of his house. Hey, how you doing? Whatever his name was. And, they get in the car, they start driving. Same two officers stop and say, "Show me your ID." You fit the description of somebody we're looking for who happened to have a warrant for check kiting, for false identification on a check. Now, ask, why would you then bring out the drug dog? If you're looking for somebody who is signing bad checks or ID. So guess what? They brought out the dog. Said the dog made a hit. It's all on tape. The dog made a hit on the car. This was justification to take them out of the car. That gave them probable cause. Right. Guess what's on tape? The police officer taking a ball and throwing a ball against the car. And the dog went for the ball.
Of course. Amazing.
And it's all on tape.
I want to get into this, where we've been, where we're going, and what this might mean, because it seems like there's a changing gestalt, a changing sense of the spirit of the times here in America right now.
Because of video.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a technologically driven cultural change. More with Joe Madison right after this.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.